Perfect. All right, so welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Marine Mammal Center. I'm so glad you're able to join us today. So my name is Adam. I'm the guest experience manager here. So I basically coordinate all the day-to-day visitor and education operations. So the tours that you get to go on, the exhibits you have a chance to see. We've had a chance to talk with our education volunteers that we have on site. And then I also have the great pleasure of leading all these special events, those like Marine Science Sundays. And then in my spare time, I'm also a volunteer here. So I volunteer 4 times a week, helping to take care of the animals. So every Tuesday night, I work with the little adorable harbor seals. Every Thursday night, I work with the sea lions and the elephant seals. And then I'm part of the rescue team on Fridays and Saturdays. So if you have any questions about any experiences here, I'm more than happy to share those with you. But you come on a really special day today. You come on what we call a Marine Science Sunday. So every second and fourth Sunday, we offer these free classes with different themes, and I'm really excited about the one here because we're celebrating Halloween. We're talking all about the creatures of the deep, the animals that are just champions of this really harsh and unusual environment, and then also just some of the really kind of weird-looking ones that we don't hear very much about in honor of Halloween. But before we jump into that, I'm just curious, how many people have been to the Marine Mammal Center before? Okay, around half. All right, put your hands down. How many people knew it was a Marine Science Sunday when they came to that? Around half. I'll take it. All right. Well, just because it's kind of the first time for some of you, I want to start with just a very brief history of the Marine Mammal Center, a little bit about what we do, to give you a reason why someone like me is standing up in front of you talking about creatures of the deep in the first place. But before I do that, I want to dim the lights a little bit, so get a little bit of ambiance lighting here. So let's see how this works for all of you. Pretty good? That work? Not too bright in the eyes for the background. I know these track lights are a little harsh sometimes. All right, wonderful. All right, well, basically the short story of what we do here is the Marine Mammal Center is the world's largest marine mammal hospital. So we take care of more sick and hurt seals, sea lions, whales, and dolphins than any other organization in the world. We cover 600 miles of California coastline. So it's a 10-hour drive from the top of Mendocino County in the north to the bottom of San Luis Obispo County in the south. Any sick or hurt seal, sea lion, whale in that area, we're going to rescue and bring here to get better. Now, we were able to do this with 45 paid staff. Around half of those help take care of the animals, veterinarians, vet technicians, our stranding team. The other half are people like me, education or communications. The only way we're able to do this work, though, is our volunteers. We have over 1,000 volunteers, and everyone you've seen today, essentially besides me, is a volunteer. They do everything. They do the feedings, the cleanings, the rescues, the releases, the basic medical procedures, the education tours, and dosing. They truly do it all. They start at age 15. They go up to age 96. We don't even cut it off at 96. We just simply haven't had a 97-year-old sign up yet. I'm going to have to change my speech in around 3 months as well when Jerry turns 97. But it gives you an idea of what allows this place to run. We're also a nonprofit. We run off of donations. So every dollar we get, whether it's in our donation boxes, on tours, in the gift shop, every cent goes to buying food and medicine for the animals we're taking care of. So thank you for your support in coming out and the work that we do. Now, I've gone through many different versions here, so even those that raise their hand saying they've been here before, it kind of depends when, for what you might have been seeing. We started 38 years ago, so in 1975, we were a little bit more, I guess you could say rustic. Bathtubs, chicken wire, very rudimentary, whatever we could get our hands on to basically rescue and take care of some of these animals. But over the years, we've been able to change and really advance what we're able to do. And we were closed down to the public for 4 years as we rebuilt this entire facility that you're in now. We reopened in 2009 with this state-of-the-art hospital that not only allows us to take care of more animals than ever before, we can take care of them better than ever before, but we also added this great visitor experience where you have the chance to actually look into a lot of the different rooms. You can look into the fish kitchen, the laboratory, see the animals we're taking care of, and get a full picture of what it's like at a marine mammal hospital. Now, with the work that we do, it all starts with getting the animals. A sick seal or sea lion isn't just going to walk up the hill, check themselves into a room. We actually have to go out and get these animals. And I mentioned we cover 600 miles, so it's a big space that we have to cover, and we don't have the time or the resources just to drive up and down every beach looking for a sick or hurt animal. We depend on people like you. So let's say after you leave here today, you head down to the beach at the bottom of the hill, and you happen to come across an elephant seal with a balloon string caught around its neck. Clearly it's in trouble, it needs help. You can get on the phone, you can give us a call. We have a 24-hour hotline, and every animal we get is because someone like you reports it to us. We could send a team out, rescue it, bring it here, and get it better. And each year, we're going to rescue between 600 and 800 animals. And then that kind of harder work comes in. We get these sick and hurt animals, we got to get them better. This is a 1-year-old sea lion we rescued named Orzicorn that actually came in with a piece of plastic caught around his neck. Our veterinarians were able to put him under anesthesia. We were able to cut that plastic loose, give him medicine. It took around 2 months for him to recover, but the day he got better, he got released back out into the ocean with a second chance at life. And it just depends really what's wrong with the animals for what we can do to get them better, how long they might be here. But any test you can get at a human hospital, we can do here for these animals. X-rays, ultrasounds, brain scans, surgeries. And they get all the same diseases and issues that we get. So we were really like a human hospital in the types of treatments that we're able to provide. Now, it also just depends what time of year it is for what types of animals and why they might be coming in. Right now, it's actually one of the slowest times of the year. We only have 10 patients on site that we're caring for. If you were here back in April, we actually had 180 animals on site that we were taking care of. So it does vary, just depending on what time of year and what might be happening out in the oceans. I want to show you a quick video, though, of some of our most common patients, give you an idea of what types of animals might be coming through our doors. So let's take a look and to listen. These are California sea lions. These are our most common patients. Right now we have 7 of these animals on site right now. You know, they're kind of like the dogs of the sea. They have that very clear barking sound that you hear. You notice how they can walk around on these big flippers? They have these ear flaps just like we have and dogs as well. Now, sea lions, they love hanging out with other sea lions. So if you go to a place like Pier 39, you see them just climbing on top of each other just like this. Now, they also just simply love climbing on things. So here at our hospital, they use their big front flippers to climb up on the edges of our pools and relax. They also use those big front flippers for swimming. They're unbelievable swimmers. So they can swim 25 miles an hour. That's 5 times faster than Michael Phelps. Now you can compare that to these little guys. These are my favorite. These are baby elephant seals. So they're just 2 months old. So just babies, believe it or not, severely underweight. Now, they don't bark like the sea lions. They cackle instead, kind of like an evil chicken. Now, you notice if you take a close look, they actually don't have ear flaps like the sea lions. They have little tiny ear holes. You also notice not big front flippers, these itty bitty short front flippers. So they can't walk around, they can't climb. Not the most graceful up on land. So when we have to move them, we'll throw them in a wheelbarrow. Is that not one of the cutest things you've ever seen? All right, now last but not least, the harbor seal. So this is our 3rd most common patient, the only spotted seal or sea lion in California. So if you see an animal in the water with spots, you know it's one of these right away. Now this is just a 1-week-old harbor seal pup that got separated from mom. You notice though, short front flippers, little tiny ear holes. These little guys, disgustingly adorable. But you have a close look there, those little tiny ear holes, a little short front flipper right over there. So even though they look different than the elephant seals, they're still part of the same kind of family, the way we can tell differences between seals and sea lions. Now these are our 3 most common patients, and earlier this year is when we saw a lot of the harbor seals and elephant seals here at the hospital. Back in April, we had 45 of these baby harbor seals that we were taking care of, all getting separated from mom. At the same time, we had 85 elephant seals at our hospital that we were taking care of. We actually just released our last elephant seal of the season a week ago today. It was a baby elephant seal that actually had cataracts. And we did cataract surgery to restore his vision. It was actually the first time he ever saw anything, basically. And he was released healthy and doing great as of the last report. Yeah? Cataracts, great question. Cataracts is something that makes it so that you can't see. So it's basically, if you had kind of like a piece of plastic or a piece of paper that you put in front of your eye, you can't see through it. that's what was inside of his eye. So he actually couldn't see out of his eyes, but we removed that thing, and now he can see again. Great question. Right now, it's relatively calm. We've got 10 animals on site, 7 of them the California sea lions. Those are the ones you have a chance to see today up on our second level. We also have 3 northern fur seals, which is actually a very unusual species. It's a depleted species under the Endangered Species Act that we're taking care of. And I can talk more about that a little bit later. Now, the ultimate goal, regardless of why the animal comes in the first place, how old it is, what species it is, the day they get better is the day they get released. We're not a zoo or an aquarium. We don't want to keep the animals here. So the day they get healthy is the day they go back home. So these are a couple sea lions getting released at Point Reyes. Already this year, we've been able to give over 265 animals a second chance at life back out in the ocean. And then last but not least, we have to do research. And that's a really big part of what we're doing here, and learning why these animals are getting sick and making sure they're doing okay out in the ocean. So it starts here at our hospital, trying to figure out why an animal's sick. So when we go to the doctor's office, we can tell the doctor my head hurts, my leg hurts, I twisted my ankle. These animals can't tell us that. So our doctors and scientists have to figure out, by looking at things like blood, why an animal might be sick. Sadly, like at human hospitals, not every patient will make it. So if an animal does pass away, we can learn from death. And what we learn from one animal that's died can help save hundreds of others that are still coming in our front doors. We go on field trips. We check and see how the animals are doing out in the wild, making sure that the wild populations are doing okay. So these are some nice, big, healthy, fat elephant seal pups. And then for the animals that we do take care of, a lot of them leave with a little party hat souvenir that allows us to make sure we can find them again out in the wild. So these are harbor seals that we can track and make sure that once we release them, they're doing all right. And if they're not, we can pick them back up and bring them here for a little bit more care. Now, that gives you an idea of kind of the work that we do here. But the theme this month is Creatures of the Deep. We're celebrating Halloween. I want to talk about some of just the amazing animals that live in this deep ocean environment. And this deep ocean environment is not an easy one to live in. So there are a lot of things for these animals that they have to deal with to be there. So what I want to do is I want to start with just kind of painting a picture for you of what it's like for these animals that live out at the bottom of the ocean. So there are 3 big things that these animals are dealing with. The first is that it is pitch black. There is absolutely no light that can get down to the bottom of the ocean. So these animals are surviving in a completely dark environment. Now, the other thing is that it's really cold. I mean, you know that water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, but because of the salt in the ocean, it's not actually going to freeze at the bottom of the ocean. So it's below freezing where these animals are living, 28 degrees. And then the most impressive is the pressure. So if you imagine if you're in a swimming pool, you dive to the bottom of the pool, maybe 10 or 12 feet, your ears sometimes pop. Or if you go up in an airplane, your ears get stuffy. That's pressure. Well, at the bottom of the ocean, there is lots and lots of pressure. So very scientific numbers, but it's the equivalent of 785 pounds of pressure per centimeter squared. So what does that mean? So if you take a look at your fingernail, that is a centimeter squared. So what I want you to do is I want you to picture 785 pounds resting on just your fingernail, and then do that for every other part of your body. That's what these animals are dealing with at the bottom of the ocean. For a normal-sized person, it's around 15.7 million pounds of pressure resting on them. And these animals don't seem to show any side effects, and they just live with it their entire life. What would that be for like a person? It'd be the equivalent of you trying to balance 21 jumbo jet airplanes on top of your head.
It's like when your school bus has a hat.
Wearing a school bus as a hat. I like that. So just amazing what these animals can deal with out in the middle of the ocean. So one of the things that they've come up with to kind of combat this is that they don't like being in an area where there's no light. So they create their own. So how many people have seen fireflies before? Probably all of us, right? Well, fireflies have a very special ability to create light. In the ocean, there are similar animals. It's called bioluminescence. And basically, inside an animal's body, they can release chemicals that cause them to light up. And this is something that a lot of the animals at the bottom of the ocean do for a couple of different reasons. And I want to show you a video here that highlights some of the different ways that bioluminescence might be used. Let's take a look.
Even in the dark zone, there is sunlight. Turn off the submersible headlights and you see a pyrotechnic display outside. These lights are created by animals. This is bioluminescence. A deep-sea anglerfish flashes in the darkness. The light is generated by bacteria that live permanently inside the lure, which attracts prey to these murderous teeth. There are all sorts of lures out in the darkness. Come into my mouth, little fish. And what is the purpose of this lure, suspended on a long rod way below its owner's terrifying set of teeth? It's difficult to be sure. But then this monster does have another giant flashing lure much closer to its mouth. These fish are called anglers because they use their lures in much the same way as fly fishermen use their imitation flies. For a hunted squid with huge eyes, this glimmer is intriguing. It might just be food. A satisfying meal for a fish with a highly extendable stomach.
So you get an idea of some of the adaptations, some of the really cool things that these animals at the bottom of the ocean have developed over time. And just a hint at some of the kind of creepy animals that are under the surface that we haven't seen or heard much about. But I want to focus on a couple key animals here, kind of the champions of the deep first. So we take care of elephant seals here. They're actually our second most common patient. And they hold many records for being one of the highlight animals that can survive at the bottom of the ocean. They're actually the longest divers that we know of. Now, these are mammals. They have to breathe air just like you or I. But these animals can dive down 5,000 feet, so a mile down, and they can hold their breath for 2 hours at a time. So I want you to imagine something. Go home tonight, watch a full-length movie. That's how long elephant seals can hold their breath underwater. Just astounding how these animals have learned to kind of thrive in this environment. Now, not only are they champions of the deep, but they're just truly amazing creatures in the first place. So when we think about the size of these animals, hopefully everyone had a chance to see Elmo, the life-size elephant seal right out front. When they grow up, they can be 15 feet long. That's from where I'm standing all the way to the other side of this room. And they can weigh 5,000 pounds. That's more than the entire starting offense of the San Francisco 49ers. That's 2 cars put together just to be one adult male elephant seal. So just amazing animals. And not only are the adults big, but the babies are pretty gigantic as well. When an elephant seal is born, they're 4 feet long and 75 pounds. So, for example, will you help me out for a second? Will you come on up here? What's your name?
Imogen.
Say that again. Imogen? Imogen, come on up here for me. So, when an elephant seal is born, they are already bigger than Imogen. Just to prove this to you, I happen to have a baby elephant seal hiding out. This is life-size, newborn baby elephant seal. 4 feet, 75 pounds. I'll let that settle in for all the ladies in the group for just a second. All right? So just astounding. Thank you, Imogen. You've been a wonderful elephant seal. You can have a seat. So these are big babies. Now, they're mammals just like you or I. So it is really important for them to actually be with their mom. They spend 1 month with their mom. It's not a lot of time, actually. And for that 1 month, they're going to be drinking their mom's milk. So it's important they stay close to each other. They're going to lie kind of nose to nose. They're going to smell each other so they know what each other smells like. And they're going to talk to each other so they know what each other sound like. Now, the sound is a really important thing because on these beaches, it can be really crowded. And you don't want to get separated. You think about what it's like for all of us. So if you go to the supermarket with your parents, all of a sudden you're walking around, if you're a little bit on the younger side, you turn around and your mom and dad are gone. Well, that's a big problem. So what do you normally do if you can't find your parents? Yeah, Imogen.
You go to somebody who works there.
Okay, you can go to someone who works there. What's another strategy? Yeah.
When I went to the aquarium, I lost my parents, and there was a policeman and asked me where my parents were.
Okay.
And I didn't know where they were, so they helped me find them.
Okay, so you can go find help. I'm thinking something a little bit easier, actually, than all this. Yeah.
Call for your mom.
Call. You go, Mom, Dad, where'd you go? And usually they answer, and you know what their voice sounds like. So you know what your mom sounds like, you know what your dad sounds like, and you know what your kids sound like. So if you ever kind of separate, you can find each other. Well, that's what elephant seals do as well. They can actually use their voices to call out to each other. It just sounds a little bit different than what you or I might sound like. So let's take a listen. That's the baby, and that's the mom. The baby, and the mom. So, in my mind, they sound a little bit like evil chickens. But out of curiosity, has anyone seen the movie Jurassic Park in this room? A couple of you? So Steven Spielberg, when he made that movie, he actually sent a team out here to record the sounds of the baby elephant seals we were taking care of. The velociraptors in Jurassic Park, actually baby elephant seals from our hospital. How many people have seen Lord of the Rings? Fair amount of you? So Peter Jackson sent a team out. Actually, some of the orcs, baby elephant seals from our hospital. And how many people have seen the movie How to Train Your Dragon? The baby dragon? One of these little guys from our hospital. So you can keep that in mind next time you see any of those movies. So pretty amazing. Now, they're going to spend 1 month with their mom. All they're going to do for 1 month is drink their mom's milk. Now, you think about the type of milk that you like to drink. Maybe 2%, fat-free, whole milk. Whole milk is 4% fat, to give you an idea. The milk that these babies are getting from their mom is 50% fat. So these animals are gaining lots of weight. In 1 month, for every day they're drinking their mom's milk, they're going to gain 8 pounds every day. So after 1 month, they look like that. So a 1-month-old baby elephant seal weighs 300 pounds. Now, what happens is that for every pound that baby elephant seal gains, the mom is actually going to lose 2 pounds. So in 1 month, the mom actually loses around 600 pounds. So after 1 month, she takes off to go find food. And this baby elephant seal is left on the beach all by itself. It's never actually been in the water before, so it doesn't know how to swim. It's never seen a fish before, and it's never eaten anything. They have to learn it all by themselves. And what's amazing is that they do. So they work together with other baby elephant seals to slowly learn how to eat food and swim, and then they can grow big and strong like all the others. But just amazing how these animals develop. And when they get to be full grown, as you saw out front, these are gigantic animals. So the males at around 5,000 pounds. The males also develop this big nose as they grow up when they turn around 5 years old, what we call a proboscis. What they can do is they stick it right in front of their mouth like this, and when they talk, it kind of reverberates. It makes this really loud sound, kind of like a trumpet. And it's how the boys say to each other, "Look how big and strong I am, so don't mess with me." The girls don't get that big nose, and they're not going to be quite as large. They're a nice petite, 10 feet long, 1,200 pounds. But these are some pretty large animals. Now, I want to show you a quick video here of these animals kind of in action. So let's take a look. So you can see an adult male. Look at that sound that they make. So the males like to fight with each other. Size matters in the elephant seal world. So they go chest to chest like big sumo wrestlers to fight over girlfriends. Now, they figure out who's the biggest and strongest. Then the girlfriends come up onto the beach, and they have their babies. So you hear the sounds. See a newborn baby and the mom. The mom doesn't have that big nose. After 1 month, the baby turns into a big 300-pound sausage-like creature. And you see the little short front flippers they have. Not the most graceful up on land, but can move pretty well when they want to. It's in the water that they're really at home. Just unbelievable swimmers and divers. Now, it's in the water that they really are these champions. So not only can they dive down so far and stay down so long, but they actually have the longest migration of any mammal in the entire world. So these elephant seals go from California up to Alaska and back twice each year. That's a total of 14,000 miles. And they spend 250 days each year out in the middle of the open ocean. They only come up onto land twice each year. Once in the summertime and once in the wintertime. Other than that, they're out in the middle of the open ocean all by themselves. So just amazing how well these animals have kind of conditioned themselves to survive out in this harsh environment. Now, I brought a couple things up here with me. We'll turn on the lights in a little bit. You can come up and take a feel. But if you want to actually feel what an elephant seal feels like, we've got some fur up here from an elephant seal that passed away naturally out on the beach. We've also got the big skull right here in the middle of an adult male. So you can actually see what the teeth are like for these 5,000-pound monsters.
And the sperm whale.
We're going to get to that one in just a second, because that's my next one that I want to talk about. All right, so we've got elephant seals. That's our second most common patient. We had 85 of them on site earlier in the year. But they're just one of the many creatures that have learned how to really thrive in the ocean. The other kind of record setter is the sperm whale. So sperm whales are the deepest divers. Now again, these are all mammals, so they have to breathe air. Sperm whales, we don't even know exactly how deep they can go because we can't get down to where some of these animals go. But they're diving down between 5,000 and 10,000 feet, so 1 to 2 miles below the ocean. Is there a question? Yeah, right over here.
Some can hold their breath for pretty long.
They can hold their breath for pretty long too. These guys are holding their breath for around an hour. Yeah, pretty amazing.
So it's less than the seal?
It's less than the elephant seal, yeah. So the sperm whales can go down deeper, but not for as long. So interesting trade-offs. Now, I want to give you a chance to see the sperm whales in action because these are really tough to see. These are big animals. I mean, 60 feet long. That's 2 school buses back to back. They can't fit into this classroom. But how many people have actually seen a sperm whale before? Anyone? It's kind of hard. So I want to give you a chance to see what these animals are like out in the ocean. Now, we have sperm whales in the Pacific Ocean. You can actually see them off the coast of California. This clip's actually taken from the Atlantic, but it gives you a great chance to see what they're like underwater. So, sperm whales coming right at you here. I want you to actually notice all the cuts and scrapes and nicks that this animal has on its body. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. All the sperm whales seem to have those types of marks. Now, this is a pod of around 8 sperm whales. It's tough to kind of get an idea of size. Each one of these animals is around 60 feet long. So these are gigantic animals. Now, you notice some more of those cuts and scrapes. For being as large as they are, they're incredibly graceful. So really good swimmers. They have this very big tail fluke that they can move up and down. Their fluke is around 12 feet long. So not quite the entire width of this classroom, but pretty close to it. So just amazing creatures. Yeah.
But the blue whale is bigger.
The blue whale is bigger. So we'll talk a little bit about the blue whale actually next month with the talk that I'm giving, and I'll mention that at the very end.
But blue whales don't have teeth.
Exactly. So when we think about what makes the sperm whales really special, they're record holders in a couple different categories. All right, did you have a question though? A comment? Yeah, what's your comment? Sure.
I know where they get the scrapes.
All right, hold on to that for a second, okay? Don't spoil it forever, and I'll call on you in just a minute though. All right, so in terms of them being record holders, so these animals I mentioned 60 feet long. They're the biggest animal in the entire world with teeth. So the blue whale is bigger, but the blue whale doesn't have teeth. They have something else.
Yes.
What do they have? I forget.
Belly.
Baleen, exactly. So these guys are gigantic. So they're the largest predatory animal in the entire world. They're the deepest diving mammal. And an interesting thing is they actually have the largest brain of any animal in the entire world. Their brain alone weighs 20 pounds. So pretty astounding. Now, if you take a close look here at some of these pictures, what is really interesting is that they only have teeth on their bottom jaw. We're not quite sure why. But when you take a look at the teeth of these animals, they're pretty impressive. This is one tooth from the sperm whale. And they just have rows of these teeth along their bottom jaw. On the top jaw, they don't have any teeth. They have little tiny holes. And that way when they close their mouth, they don't stab themselves with their own teeth. So it kind of fits in quite nicely. But kind of harsh to get bit by one of these things. Yeah. Yeah.
It looks almost like a claw.
Like a claw? Yeah. Well, you can come up here. You can take a feel. You can see how heavy they are when I turn on the lights in a little bit. But really, really impressive stuff. Now, why do they have to have such big teeth? And why do they have all these cuts and scrapes on their bodies? What are they going after that's putting up such a fight and requires such large teeth in the first place to try and take down? Any ideas? All right, you had the answer early on. What do you think?
Glassbone squids and giant squids.
Good. Giant squids. So these aren't just regular squids that are a foot long. No, these are giant squid that are the size of school buses. So 33 feet long. And they've got all these kind of stinging tentacles that can fight back, like all the smaller squids do.
And there's like sharp stuff.
Mm-hmm. They've got sharp things along the way that can kind of spread ink. You've heard of squid ink probably to try and get away from things. These are some pretty respectable competition when it comes to fighting for food out there. Now, here's the thing though. How many people in the room have heard of giant squid before? Probably everyone, right? Now, here's what's so shocking about it all. We had never seen a live giant squid until around 9 months ago. I'm going to say that again. We didn't actually have confirmation of live giant squid until earlier on this year. One of these gigantic animals, 33 feet long, that lives out in the ocean. It's been in legends and movies for generations. But we had never actually seen a living one before. We'd seen a couple pieces of one. We'd seen a dead sample wash up. But it just goes to show we don't know a lot about what's happening in our own oceans. It's a really big place. We know more about every aspect of the moon than we do the bottom of our own oceans. But technology's starting to catch up. And we're starting to figure out ways that we can get down into these areas that are so harsh that giant squid and sperm whales and elephant seals have been able to be in for just millennia at this point. So what was really interesting is earlier this year, we got the first ever footage of a live giant squid. And that's what I want to share with you here. So let's take a look. My apologies. Come on. Help me out. There we go. So it was from a Discovery Channel special that they had called Monster Squid that got this footage.
Oh, that's great. Well done.
The squid continues to feed on the bait. Hunger overrides its natural instinct to flee.
So there's a large piece of bait on the end of a hook that got the
Once
squid
we
to come out.
realized that there was no way that squid was going to let go, that's when the show began.
その瞬間に立ち会えてそれを撮影できたという興奮でもういっぱいですよね。感動してます。まだ行ってくれ、まだ行ってくれって願いながら撮影してます。
You guys are using all the oxygen now.
Too much oxygen?
No, it's low because everybody's excited.
Give you an idea of scale. The eye is about the size of a beach ball.
7 minutes go by, yet the giant remains.
Surface, Triton. Giant squid. And we have a lot of footage. It's all going very, very well.
Roger, Jim, you're confirming you have a giant squid?
Negative. We have complete confirmation.
I think there's more going on than what he's actually saying.
This is really upfront. That's incredible. We've done it.
Okay, I think we're at the end of the tether.
After 23 minutes, the close encounter is over.
So just amazing. I mean, what's so astounding to me is that those people that were in the submersible have been studying giant squid for around 30 years without ever having seen a giant squid. But just astounding that these animals that are so large, so kind of well known, are just hidden from us.
How deep were they?
That was, I believe, around 2,000 to 3,000 feet down.
And they haven't been seen before because we didn't have something to go down that deep?
Not necessarily. We've been able to get down, to places like the Titanic, which is, I think, 12,000 feet down, somewhere between 12 and 20,000 feet down, for a while now. But it's a big ocean. And to try and find some of these animals, we just don't know. Yeah. It's just a big place.
Do they come up towards the surface?
They believe so, but we have no data. Other squid do. So very few animals will actually stay at the very bottom of the ocean. They'll kind of come up at nighttime to follow some food. But we just don't know. There's a lot of really cool science that's out there right now. Yeah.
Also, squid like light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and it was interesting. I definitely recommend it if this is something that interests you to look up this Discovery Channel show. It's called Monster Squid. It's highly dramatized, as you might imagine. But they basically took 3 of the best squid researchers and they made a competition out of them. So they were able to come up with, what do you think can get the giant squid to be visible? So bait, lights, smells, and all of that. And they tested all these different things. It's really quite cool. Yeah.
Giant squid is just like having like a long string on their body.
Mm-hmm, they do. So giant squid kind of look like this. So they have this really long tentacle that goes with all the others. And this can help catch food. It can kind of sting things. It can kind of rope things in. Yeah, really, really neat stuff.
You can like rope spoon with.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Now, that gets us kind of back to something, though. So we've got giant squid, 33 feet long. We've got sperm whales, 60 feet long. And they have these epic battles at the bottom of the ocean at 5,000 feet down. Thing is, though, we've never seen it. We just know because we see all those cuts and scrapes on the sperm whales. And if a sperm whale washes ashore, we've seen pieces of giant squid in their stomach. But I want to show you a video next that gives you an idea of what's happening down there. Do you have a question right in the middle, though? Or are you just stretching?
One time I saw an elephant seal that was carrying on the beach side.
Very nice, very nice. Elephant seals are definitely my favorite. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you what happens. This is an animation that was put together that kind of gives you an idea of how these animals are hunting. Now, it's dark. There's no light down there. So these sperm whales are trying to find these 33-foot-long giant squid, and they can't actually see them. So the sperm whales have a very special ability that they use. They use echolocation. So the use of sound to actually find and map things that are happening out in the ocean. That's what I want to show you. Do you have a question, though, before I press go?
Does the giant, do they, I have a comment, and
Okay.
do they, how could, the giant squid not eat the sperm whale, and the sperm whale can eat the giant squid?
Ah, good question. So the reason why giant squid can't really eat the sperm whale is because the sperm whale is just too big, and they're not going to actually get that hurt by the stinging that the giant squid had. It just kind of leaves the marks. It's kind of like scars. But the sperm whales with these big teeth are just too big for a giant squid. The giant squid are going to be eating things like fish and other smaller squids instead. Yeah?
Do whales eat something else than big squids?
They eat fish as well, but definitely their favorite food is the giant squid. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at this here.
I like this one.
So again, we've never seen a giant squid and a sperm whale interact. But we know that the sperm whales are succeeding. And we know that they're doing it by using echolocation. So what happens is the sperm whale at the surface is going to take a big deep breath of air, dive down, use that big tail fluke to push his way down into the bottom of the ocean. Now, as he goes further down, the light keeps kind of going away. So it's getting darker and darker. So instead of using vision, he's going to use sound. So it's the same way that sonar and radar work. He's going to actually produce a sound and send it out. And that sound wave is going to travel until it hits something. So, for example, it's going to travel down until it hits, let's say, a small fish. Hits the fish, bounces back, and now all of a sudden the sperm whale's brain is able to read that there's something in front of it. And it's so sensitive that it can actually tell the size, the speed, the species of whatever it hits. So, with all of this, even in pitch black, the sperm whale can now map what's in front of them and see what no one else can see. So, all these fish are swimming through without an idea there's a giant whale coming at him. He swims by, he gets himself a nice little snack on his way towards the bottom of the ocean. A small fish isn't going to hold over a 60-foot whale, though. So, he's heading all the way down into the darkness. And down here is where he's going to figure out where is that giant squid. So, again, using those signals, sending out the sound waves, as he gets closer to things, he's going to send more and more to make sure that it doesn't get away from him. And he seems to have picked up on something here. So, he sends more and more signals to see if he can get it. Thing is, though, giant squid are not easy to catch and not easy to find. They're quite elusive. And they can put up quite the fight. So, they've got those tentacles that they can use to sting the animals. They've got the ink that they can spray, which is what happens right here. Thing is, though, the sperm whales, they can always use that sound. The giant squid have the big eye for vision. But when you're in the darkness, usually, the sperm whale's going to win. Pretty amazing stuff, though. And you can come up here and you can take a feel of the sperm whale teeth in just a few minutes. But I wanted to highlight those animals in particular as kind of champions of the deep. But there are so many animals out there. I wanted to highlight a couple others. And with Halloween right around the corner, I found a couple to be quite fitting. So one of them is the vampire squid. So how many people have heard of vampire squid before? They're getting a little bit more attention these days. Now, these guys have a pretty terrifying name to them, but really, these are not that terrifying of creatures. They're all like 1 foot long. So these guys are pretty small, about the size of a football. And they don't feed on things like blood and anything like that. We actually just found it a year ago. We didn't know until a year ago. But all they do is they feed on marine snow, which is the equivalent of the scraps that animals leave that fall to the bottom. So all the messy eaters that live above 5,000 feet, all the stuff that's falling down is what these animals are basically filtering. But they've got some pretty unique adaptations and qualities that have given them that name over the years. So I want to show you a quick video here of these guys in action.
No vestige of sunlight can penetrate as far as this. Food is very scarce, and nothing can afford to waste any energy. A Dumbo octopus simply flaps a fin. No need for the jet propulsion used by its shallow water relatives above. the weirdest in this world of the strange. Vampiroteuthis, the vampire squid from hell. Disturb it, and it only retreats a little distance. Go after it, and it has a special defense. To see what it does, you must switch off the lights. The vampire squid has lights of its own. Bioluminescent bacteria shine from pockets on its arms to confuse its predators. Are those eyes? In fact, they're spots at the end of its mantle. A bite there would leave the head unscathed. The threat diminishes, and Vampiroteuthis disappears into the blackness.
So again, some pretty amazing adaptations that these animals have out there. Yeah.
Giant squid can turn in different colors.
Yep, same with vampire squid as well. They have the ability to actually change colors to confuse animals or hide from other animals. All right, the other one I wanted to highlight, the goblin shark. So it's just perfect for Halloween, right? So how many people have heard of the goblin shark before? Not as many. All right, so these guys are pretty amazing. So they're not small. They're 13 feet long at full length. They live at around 5,000 feet, but they come up towards the surface at night after food. So they might be within 100 feet or 50 feet of the surface. And these guys are predators, so they eat the fish, the squid, the small sharks. Now, they're weird looking, without a doubt. So they get their name from this kind of long nose-like thing. And on the underside of this, they've got sensors, and they can pick up electric signals, actually. So all animals have an electrical signal to them, just because of the way our cells work. And this will pick up on that. So in the darkness, they can pick up on where animals are. They can actually find animals that are buried under the sand at the bottom of the ocean by just looking at those signals. That's not the reason why I highlight them here. I highlight them because they have a very, very cool ability to feed. And that's what I want to show you in a video next. There's really no other videos that show this. It is not a common thing. There's not a lot of video of goblin sharks in the first place. I want to show you the video, but before I press start on it, I have to give a little warning, I guess, for lack of better words. So this one video, they really wanted to get this adaptation, this feeding of the goblin shark. So they tried to bait it. This is at around 80 feet of water. And two people, scuba divers, went down with this shark and tried to convince it to bite something. And they thought it would be the fantastic idea to have one of the scuba divers wearing chainmail and have it bite the diver's arm. So, no one was hurt in the making of this video. I don't think it was necessarily the smartest way to try and do this. But just for you to know, I actually spent years of my life working with sharks, and I feel I have to share with you how rare it is for someone to actually be bit by a shark unless you're trying to get bit like these two were. You're more likely to get hurt by hippos, wild dogs, horses, bees, you name it. You're more likely to be bit by a New Yorker than by a shark. I swear to God, that is a proven statistic. More likely to be struck by lightning twice than actually bit by a shark. So it really is quite uncommon despite how much attention sometimes they get. But without further ado, I want to show you this video. It kind of jumps around a little bit. It's going to jump right into someone having the shark attached, and then it's going to go in reverse a little bit and show how it happened. I'll kind of walk it through with you.
Night falls, and something surprising happens.
Gotta love the ominous tone as well. Alright, so we have our shark.
The shark is bitten into the sleeve of the diver's wetsuit. Its mouth protrudes to create the typical goblin shark shape.
We're gonna go back and watch how it bites. This is what you need to pay attention to. Watch very
It
carefully.
happens suddenly when the shark turned to avoid the camera and ran into the diver's arm.
Are you not impressed?
The teeth are sunk deep into the sleeve of the wetsuit, trapping the shark. Finally, the shark frees itself. His mouth reverts to its original shape.
It's pretty cool stuff. Basically, a hidden mouth so that animals don't know when it's about to strike it. And it can catch animals off guard. It's a pretty amazing thing that these animals have developed to help them in this harsh environment. Now, I was only able to pick a couple to really highlight, but there are a lot of really cool animals at the bottom of the ocean, a lot really, really good for the Halloween theme. So I want to share one last video with you that kind of shows you a catalog of some of the animals that didn't quite make the cut here. Let's take a look. This one's my favorite. It's adorable. Just to give you a little taste of what's still out there. But truly amazing animals and stuff that we're just starting to kind of figure out at the bottom of the ocean. So I'll turn on the lights in just a second, but I just wanted to make a couple quick announcements. So if you haven't had a chance to go on a dose-and-lead tour and see the hospital, I definitely recommend it. The best way to see our animals, see how we're taking care of them. There'll be one that starts in just a couple minutes with Tamara out on the front patio. Also, for the Marine Science Sunday, we've got our trick-or-treat trivia in the lower viewing area if you want to test your knowledge on marine mammals. We've got a whalebone graveyard to give you an idea of the size of some of these animals that we might be taking care of. And then this is a monthly series that we do, so if you had fun, I definitely encourage you to come back. It's every second and fourth Sunday of the month. It's a different theme each month. So next month, we're celebrating whales and magnificent migrations because it's just the start of a couple of different type of whale migrations. So we're going to be focusing on the blue whale, the humpback whale, the gray whale, and a little bit more on the sperm whales as well. So definitely check us out with that. But without any further ado, any questions? Utter silence works too. I'll turn on the lights. You're more than welcome to come up and take a feel of all these things. I'm going to stick around as well, but I'll take a couple questions right now. Yeah?
Why is the giant squid's eye one eye is blue and one eye is red?
Great question. That was just the lighting, actually. So the squid, it's going to have the same colored eye on both sides. Yeah. Good question, though. All right, yeah, in the back. Thank you all for coming. For those that are taking off right now, I really appreciate it. I'm going to stick around.